Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Made out of Syracuse, New York alive. I'm back home and I just saw Ivan's re-edit of The Last Jedi. I gotta tell you, this re-edit did one thing I thought it wouldn't do. Gave me a desire to watch the original edit so that I could just compare the two. Real quick, if you don't know who Ivan is, he's been working for, I don't know, a year or more on The Last Jedi, trying to re-edit it, trying to make it a decent movie. Most of us thought it was an impossible task, but I gotta tell you, he pulled it off. There's a big fight scene at the end that he wanted to film that he didn't get around to yet. I think down the road he's gonna add that. But what he has so far is just brilliant. Okay, so let's just briefly go over some of the things that I noticed just on a single viewing. And remember, I've only watched The Last Jedi one time in theaters. Haven't bought the Blu-ray, I've never watched it a second time, so I'm sure there's some things that I missed, but I'm going to go over those pretty quickly. Actually, the majority of the changes you're going to see are in the very beginning of the film. It's really impressive. I mean, all the things that I hated, that were really annoying and just felt very out of place, they're completely gone. There's no Yo Mama joke in the very beginning. The whole interaction with Hux is completely different. You don't see Snoke belittle him and use the Force to drag him on the floor, so the comic relief or the comedy aspect in the beginning is pretty much gone. It's actually really good. So there's no I'm holding for your mom. That joke is gone. The BB-8 silly fix in the X-Wing where he's trying to fix the X-Wing so Poe can take out the last cannon, that's not there. He just does a single action and then that fixes the X-Wing, so that's great. Snoke doesn't make fun of Kylo's helmet when he goes in to see him. There's no Leia Poppins. None whatsoever. That's great. There's no Finn falling from the table in the beginning when he's actually, it's done really well. When you see him in the stasis pod, he has sort of a miniature dream sequence where it's a flashback to the first movie, and then that's what kind of wakes him up. He doesn't then fall off the table. Now later we do see him walking down the hall and he's got the water leaking out of him, but he doesn't comically fall off the table. There's no riding of the horses, no freeing of the space horses in Canto Bight. That was great. To Luke, he does not throw the lightsaber over his shoulder. It's actually really good. When it opens, you see him standing there and he's holding the lightsaber and he's sort of analyzing it. And Ivan recorded some different dialogue with a voice actor, so he completely changes what he says. So he says something along the lines of, "This doesn't really belong to me. It calls to you. It's yours now." So he's holding it, and then you see him give it back to Rey, which I assume is just a reverse of what we saw in the film. It's time for the Jedi to end. That line, not in the movie. So when Finn fights Phasma, there's no "Let's go Chrome Dome" line. That's gone also. Admiral Akbar. I guess if you go back to Leia the explosion does happen, and we see her get sucked out, but then we don't see her in space floating. They immediately cut to her on a stretcher, and they put the oxygen on her. So it's sort of implied that she wasn't really sucked out. It was just an explosion that she was a part of. So that was really cool. Admiral Akbar does not die. There's a scene that he re-edited where instead of just having Admiral Holdo show up and give her little speech saying I'm in charge, you have Admiral Akbar there, and he says, "Listen, me and my other officers and advisors, we're going to go try to figure this out. We're going to leave Holdo in charge for a little bit." And he also says, "We think there may be a traitor in our midst." So that's sort of the actions of Holdo kind of make a little more sense now. We're supposed to assume that there may be she may be a spy or a mole. So okay, there's actually a long training montage. Okay, so we don't have just Luke give her 2 lessons and then she's gone. There's actually a long and there's so much that goes on the island. And Luke trying to save Ben. So when he tells his version of the story, that's the same, and then Kylo tells his version, and then so Rey will reconfront Luke and say what actually happened. Well, what actually happened in this instance is similar, but there's a lot of flashbacks and video spliced where he sort of gives this long explanation of how when he looked into Kylo or Ben Solo's mind, he saw the darkness, but then he saw the future. He saw all the ways that they were going to try to save him. In fact, instead of saying it's time for the Jedi to end, he says that he actually went to the island to try to find a way to bring Ben back. So his entire purpose in this movie is completely changed for the better. We actually get to see Luke mourning the loss of Han, and it's done really well where you have Luke sit down. I think this is a deleted scene. Luke sits down and ponders that loss, and then you see a cut to Leia, and she's also, thinking. This is when they make their first jump to hyperspace. You see her sort of in the film. She's just sort of thinking, dealing with, I guess, whatever. So that's a really nice scene that you see cut back and forth to. It's almost as if they can sense each other's hurt. This is one of the greatest things. Holdo just boards a transport. Now we don't see her do that, but there's a line of dialogue that's added by Leia. It says, now it's time for you to board your transport. So everyone's getting on the transports to evacuate, and it's implied that Holdo gets on a transport. And then we see Admiral Akbar. This is done so well. Obviously you can kind of see that it's out of place, but it's very small. It's barely noticeable, but it's really done so well. Admiral Akbar now does the kamikaze run. It's just so awesome. It's so awesome. May the Force be with us all. I mean, taking dialogue from some of the older movies, it was just wonderful. I really liked it. The guy that when they're on Crate, the guy doesn't say, "Oh, salt." No, okay. Rose doesn't stop Finn's suicide run. I thought that was really great too. He's shot by in this version. You see him being shot by the enemy. We have Luke has the green lightsaber now. At the very end, his final battle, it's not blue, it's green. And then there's no Luke death scene. So everything is basically the same, but at the very end of the film, when he crawled on the rock and then died in the original version, in this version he crawls on the rock and he sits there proudly, majestically, cape flowing in the wind, looking at the twin suns, and then it cuts to credits. My quick few things that maybe I would have addressed: Yoda's lightning scene, where Yoda shows up and Luke goes to burn the tree. I would have had him just have it cut to where it would appear that Luke just burns the tree, instead of having him sort of stand there and hesitate, and then Yoda calls out the lightning. I never liked that, so I would have changed that, but it's minor. The laundry room scene is still in, so you have that, looks like a spaceship's landing, and it turns out to be an iron, and they're just ironing clothes. That was still in there. I think that could have been cut out. Snoke's death, I would have changed. I would have changed that somehow. Edit him out of the room. Maybe he leaves the room. Keep him alive. Just I never really liked that. But obviously, Ivan's doing as much as he can with the footage that he has, and I think it's really done so well. It really is. I'll leave a link in the description for his video where he links the movie. I don't want to link the movie directly. I want you to go and see Ivan talk about the passion he had for this project. Click on the video, click on the link, check this out. You're really going to enjoy it. Do yourself a favor. Celebrate Ivan's hard work, because it really was. It was hard work. And as a Star Wars fan, man, I really appreciate it. You did a great job, Ivan. So once again, congratulations, Ivan. You made chicken salad out of chicken.